All right. Looks like we are live, but let me check the page just to make sure that's actually true before we start talking.
Maybe I should fix my background a little bit.
Go for it.
It's like annoying me. Yeah, I don't think I could really fix it though. I'm trying to like just get the background, but something like that.
Looks like we're live on the page. I can see myself.
All right, cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Rafi Chowdhury here from rafichowdhury.com. We're actually using a pretty cool service today called believe.tv. So kind of experimenting a little bit. This is kind of like a Google Hangout type of thing, or like a blab.im if you guys used that before, except now we're on a Facebook Live. So welcome. Today I have here with me Nicole. And
Badrudeen.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Nicole Badrudeen. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a book on skincare called The Gorgeous Skin Handbook. I'm a skincare consultant, and I'm here right outside of Miami, Florida.
Awesome. And if you guys read the description, today's video is obviously going to be on the topic that I recently posted about. I was just actually going through my Sarah era a messages, and someone said that obviously I don't know how to talk to women. So I figured that if I don't know how to talk to them, maybe other people don't either. So why not get a woman actually on the show who has experience giving advice on this topic, and let's really hack this topic and figure out if I can learn how to talk to girls, and if some of you guys men as well can figure out, from learning from Nicole. So Nicole, tell us, what is the secret to talking to women? Like, why are men so bad at it?
Well, I think one thing when you speak to a woman, you have to be very confident, not arrogant, but you have to be strong. Now, I know that you said that I asked you, what would you first say to a woman? You said, well, I'll say hi, right? But do you do that like through text messaging or like through the online dating? You're just sending a message like hi? Or are you talking about when you approach a woman like in real life?
So if I'm approaching them on the internet, in the past, I've just said, hey, and then their first name, hey, Nicole. I mean, more than that, really, I think it's like a mouthful to say in the opening line. I let them respond. Then I might say, how are you? How are you doing? What's up? Something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just feel like I see one that says I send messages. I guess he says hi. I think if you're going to approach a woman, a better way to do it, I mean, hey's okay, but you could be like, hey, so-and-so, my name is Rafi, and how are you doing today? Like that way, it's like you're asking something in that first question. I mean, in that first statement there, you're asking them how they're doing, and then they could answer back to that. Because do you know how many girls or how many women get text messages or get messages on online dating that are like, hey, hi, hey, hi, hey, hi? It's boring. You know what I mean? Like there's no substance in that.
Okay.
So you have to make it a bit more personal. Even through my Facebook Messenger, I mean, day in and day out, I get ones that are, hey, hi, and it's just like you just ignore them.
Now,
it's like a robot.
Can I have those people that are message you with the opening line, hey, actually say your name after it?
Not many.
Okay.
I mean, that may help a little bit, but I just feel like that's still, it makes it a bit more personal, but to me, that's still not enough. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you're suggesting to put a little bit more into the first message right away, more than just, hey, first name.
Just put a little, just a little bit more in there. Like, hey, Rafi, how are you doing? Or, hey, Rafi, my name is Nicole. How are you doing? You know what I mean? To me, that goes a lot further. It's much more personal.
Okay. And if she doesn't respond, do you think you should send a follow-up message the next day or a couple of days later, or just leave it?
Yeah, just leave it. Because I can tell you as a woman, if a guy that I'm interested in on online dating or a text message or whatever sends me a message, I'm going to be sure to answer back. You know what I mean? So if she's not answering back to you, she's probably not worth it for you anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, let's continue. So after you say hi, let's just say you're one of the lucky few who gets a response back. How do you carry the conversation? What are some first things that you think that a guy should consider asking or bringing up in a first chat? Let's just say for now online. Let's be more specific. Let's just say Facebook to a woman he just met over Facebook. Let's just say he randomly added her from a mutual friend list or whatever. He said hi, and she said hi back. How do you continue the conversation now without creeping her off, saying something silly, still getting her attention?
I think if when you go through Facebook, at the top, they have just little tidbits of whose ever page you're looking at. So you might want to look at that a little bit and just say, oh, I just saw that you live in Denver or wherever they live, and you could ask something about that. So it's not like you're creeping through all of their posts and asking them questions about that. You're asking about things that are right at the top.
Interesting. Okay, got it. So do you think that it's a good idea to let them know why you're contacting them right away, or should you just kind of bring that up later, like why you're reaching out randomly to somebody on Facebook?
I think after 2 questions, like, hey, how are you doing? And then, you ask something about that's on their profile. After that, you could tell them why.
Got it.
It's much better to make a definitive statement, like, my name is so-and-so. I'm interested in you, or whatever you're going to say. It's a lot better to just come out with it in the beginning. I feel like real women respect that a lot more. I know I respect that a lot more. You know what I mean? So if it were me and I were the woman, that's the way I would like it, And I think a lot of girls too, they like it when a guy kind of takes control. So to be upfront about whatever it is you're contacting about is a good thing to do. I think that's what gets men noticed.
Fair enough. Okay. Now, the question is, let's just say you continue conversation there. So how do you take this online interaction and you bring it over to a real life situation? Do you first transfer over to text? When should you ask her for her number? Or is that something you should do at all? Maybe you just directly schedule a first date or a hangout or a meeting, something like that, straight off of Facebook or, OkCupid, whatever, however way you met them on the internet.
I would ask for their number first. I wouldn't just leave, I wouldn't just say, hey, do you want to, well, you could ask somebody like, do you want to go out for a drink? But you should definitely get their phone number. Because not getting it is actually, a guy did that to me the other day. And guess what? I never went out on the date with him. So that comes to show you, get the girl's number. You know what I mean? Get her number.
Okay. And
because I probably would have gone out with him.
Fair enough. You should just be direct, straight up, and just ask for it. Say, hey, I'm really interested in getting to know you a little bit better. Do you mind if I get your number so we can stay in touch outside of Facebook?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say like, do you mind? I would just say, hey, you seem pretty awesome. Like, can I get your number, or can I give you my number? Well, no, don't say, can I give you my number? Just be like, can I get your number? And if she wants to give it to you, she'll give it to you.
And if she doesn't, if she says, no, I don't feel comfortable with giving away my number to a stranger, what do? Leave it, or do you?
Well, you could just say, well, I'm sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable, right? And that's it. You just back off. Get her phone number, meet up for coffee. Chris knows. And I think it's a good thing too, when the first time you go out with somebody, it doesn't always have to be for a drink. It could, like an alcoholic beverage, it could be just for coffee. Sometimes that's better, because let's say you meet the person and you're like, oh my God, I can't. You know what I mean? Like, this is not somebody that I feel like I click with. You could get out a lot easier if it's just like a cup of coffee. So
makes sense. Fair enough. Okay, let's talk a little bit about meeting women in real life. I feel like that's a little bit harder to do for a lot of men, because on the internet you're kind of not face to face. There's not that pressure. It's a lot easier to engage and interact with somebody in real life. Let's just say you're at a party, at an event somewhere, and you find someone very attractive. You see like that's a person that you would like to get to know. How do you start a conversation? What would you recommend?
How to start a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a few things you could do, but I think something that's really nice is when a guy notices something about you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're out, and now I'm not talking about like, don't talk about her butt and her boobs, obviously, but there is, don't talk about that, but you know, maybe there's something on her that looks really nice, or I don't know, you could take a look at her and see if maybe you could get away with complimenting her on something. Just make
Okay.
sure it's a very like G-rated type of compliment, and then you could go from there. But I think what's more important, it's not, I mean, it is what you say, but it's not just what you say. It depends on how you approach them too. Are you approaching them strong and confident? Because chicks dig confident guys. You know what I mean? And have you ever have you ever done sales, like door to door sales or anything like that in your past?
Um, Not door to door, but I've done phone sales, internet sales, and stuff like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so like when you're doing that, when you get on the phone with somebody and you make a cold call or whatever it is, you have to be strong and confident, not arrogant. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing when approaching a woman. You still have to have that same thing. Also, a lot of women, they find a strong man sexy, just not arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
But confidence is something that goes a really long way.
I see. So can you give some I guess more concrete examples of what you mean by confidence? What are some ways that you could be confident versus being like shy, rather not so confident? Can you give me some specific examples of what that?
Body language.
Uh-huh.
So stand up straight, like that's one thing that you could do. It's definitely like your body language, right? What else could you do? Um, I'm just trying to think in my head when a guy comes up to me, what are the first things that I notice? So give me a second here. I'm
Sure.
trying to create this scenario in my head. Yeah, I would say that one thing is definitely the body language. And another thing too is sometimes you could approach a girl and you could have the best demeanor, but sometimes she's just not attracted to you. And it goes vice versa. You know what I mean? So if a girl does turn you down, you may just not be her type.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing would definitely be the body language, how you speak to her. Of course, don't go up to her and be like, "Hey, babe," or "Oh, you're so hot," or anything like that, because that's like sleazy. So those are two things. Definitely don't compliment her in a cheap way, and then also have like that, that strong confidence with your body. Just stand up straight and just be strong. I wish there was a better way I could explain it, but the only thing I could tie it to is being in sales. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry if whoever's watching this has never like really done sales, so they don't understand what I'm talking about. But it's like when you walk in and you meet somebody and you're trying to close a sale, you go in strong, confident, smiling, and it's the same thing when you're approaching a woman.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Cool, cool. So, okay, so now you've started a conversation with this chick, let's just say at a party, and you've talked to her.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like she's interested in you and things like that. Can you give us some signs? How do you know if a girl is actually interested in you as more than just a casual interaction right now, and she's talking to you just because you approached her and she's trying to be nice, versus she actually wants to get to know you more? What are some things that women typically tend to do? Is there any signs like that at all that we can try to pick up on?
Honestly, that could be a little tough. And I don't know if anybody on there that's a female is going to agree with me,
Mhm.
but sometimes it could be tough because maybe she just wants some attention. Because sometimes that happens. And she's not really interested. She just wants some attention. Could be
Okay.
that. I mean, I believe she's smiling and it's also her body language. Like if you notice that she's standing towards you and her
Yeah.
body's more angled towards you, that means she's definitely into you. Because that's one thing it's very true. And when a girl's not into you, she'd kind of like turn the other way. So if her body's like into yours, that's a really good sign.
Okay.
Smile is definitely a good sign. And another thing, that's why you kind of go in for it. I mean, not too soon, but fairly soon. So you'll get your answer. You know, if you just ask her for her number, and she says no, then you know she's not into you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you could usually find out by asking her. But yeah, one thing would definitely be her body language.
Okay.
For sure.
A couple of things that I've been told, which you can tell me if they're actually, you know, if there's any kernel of truth in them or not, is that if a girl tends to like you, she'll be talking to someone else, but she'll occasionally turn and glance at you over and over, even though she's talking to somebody else. If this may not be on the first time you talk to her, but after a couple of times, she'll like, you know, touch you in the shoulder, or like any kind of physical touch means that she might be interested. I've heard things like she'll laugh a lot. Anything you say, even if it's not funny, she'll laugh, just to kind of show you that she's engaged in that conversation. That's all comes to my mind right now. I don't know. I'm not that good at picking up that either.
Well,
but my question actually was,
I wouldn't.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. No,
well,
I will agree with the touching. That is very true. A girl's for the most part, a girl's not gonna like touch you unless she's interested in you.
Right. Fair enough.
The other one about the glancing, I don't really know about that. What if she's looking at something behind you? I mean, that could really be happening. So, so you know, maybe
gives you direct eye contact. She's talking to somebody else, but she's giving you eye contact every now and then. I don't know.
Do you mean she's like talking to another guy, or she's just talking to one of her friends?
In this case, let's just assume she's talking to one of her friends or something like that, and you happen to be nearby within that conversation or something like that. You know, like let's just say you're standing around in a group. She's talking to someone else. She's glancing at you. That's kind of. I've been told that by more than one person, so I'm just curious if there's anything behind that at all.
Yeah, it could be. You see, but me, like when I have a crush on a guy or I'm interested in him, I try my best not to stare at him. So for me, I wouldn't do that. Like I wouldn't really look at him at all. I can't tell you how many people I've had a crush on that I've completely ignored in a room. Honestly.
Fair enough.
So I don't really know about that one.
All right. So my question actually was going to be that if you ask a girl for her number and she gives you your number, is that automatically pretty much a surefire way to know she's interested, or could she just be being nice? At what point, you know, should you, like, if a girl has no interest in you whatsoever, would she still give you her number?
I mean, I guess it could happen, but it's not very likely. You know, if she's giving you her number, that's usually a very good sign. And also for a guy, as soon as you get the girl's number, like the next day, if you're getting it at night, the next morning, send her a text message. You know what I mean? Girls like that. They really like that. Yeah, always.
Okay. Here's a question that I have personally, and I've done this before too, is that like a lot of times we'll tend to meet, you know, women at rather like a business setting. You know, it's not so much like a social thing. Maybe it's like a business meeting or something of that nature, or maybe a social thing. But my question is that should you, if you're interested in a girl, you know, in a romantic way, should you give her your business card ever instead of asking for her number? How do girls perceive that, like when the guy gives her his business card?
I would look at it like business.
Okay.
I wouldn't look at that as he's interested in me. But then it also depends, because why would you give a girl that you're, well, then again, yeah, I mean, if you're meeting her in a business setting, I guess you would give her a business card, but I would also probably, you know, give her like your personal cell phone number too, if you to let her know that you're interested. You know what I mean?
I guess the main question that I was asking is that should you always ask for her number, or does it make any sense to give her your number? Is it like, how does society see that? Like, should a guy always ask for a girl's number if he's interested in her?
I think so. I
Okay.
think for me, I can't speak for all girls, but I could tell you for me as a woman, I like it when a man takes the lead. So I don't want him to say, here's my business card, call me. Like, I would rather him ask for my number, I give it to him, and then he makes the effort to text me the next day. I just feel like it's just the way I would like to be handled. You know what I mean? Because I like a man to take control.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Cool. So a couple more questions. Let's just say that now you've gotten to meet somebody, you got their number, texted them. Let's talk a little bit about phone calls. Is that a dying thing, or do people still find phone calls to be much more engaging than text message or something of that nature? And if that's the case, when should you call her? How should you call her? What should that look like? Phone conversations with the girl that you just met recently.
I actually don't like phone conversations. So for me, I mean, I've been dating him for like a few weeks, then we could really get on the phone. But in the beginning, I would actually much rather text. Like, I'm busy. I don't really, I'm probably like in a meeting or something. I don't really have time to be on the phone. So, and I feel like most people these days, they do have very busy lives. And in the beginning, I would really just do text. And then, after maybe 3 weeks or so with the phone calls. But in the beginning, keep it like light, sweet, to the point, and just do, just send text messages.
Okay. Makes sense. That makes sense. Cool. So there was a good question I just lost it. Let's see. We talked about phone calling. We talked about texting. When you're texting, is there any big no-nos? Some things that you shouldn't do? Like, what should you be asking her? How should the communication go in a text message? Like, what kind of things do you talk about over text? Because there's a lot less personalization in that, because you're not, it's hard to convey emotions.
Yeah. I mean, I think just asking questions, how are you doing? How's your day going? And she'll also kind of, as you're making that effort just to ask her how her day is and how she's doing, she'll also ask you questions, and she'll kind of open up to you. And then from there, the conversation will just flow. And girls like it when guys ask them questions. Girls don't like it when a guy's talking about himself all the time. And you just have to let it flow naturally. So you really just start with, how's your day going? And it goes from there. And whatever she talks about, you could just ask different questions, and she'll like that, because she'll feel like you're getting to know her a little bit.
Fair enough. Makes sense. Okay. So in terms of dates, let's talk a little bit about that. So the first, first interaction, you just met her somewhere. So the first date, you think should be like coffee, casual, right? Somewhere. Would you agree?
Yeah, especially if you haven't spoken to them much through, text or whatever. Then if you haven't spoken to them that much and you're going to meet up, then yeah, I would do coffee. But if you guys have had like a solid, 1 or 2 good conversations, then you could also do a drink. Like, I went out on a date last night, and I spoke to the guy for about a week through text, and last night we went out for dinner, and that was our first date. But it's like I felt like I got to know him enough to feel comfortable doing that. So it really depends on the type of conversation you're having prior to meeting up.
Makes sense. Okay. What about second dates? What about third dates? How do you progress that? Like, what should the second and third one be? At what point should you start incorporating activities? Should you invite her to go out of town, or should you go take her to the haunted house? Like, how do you figure out like the sequence of the dates, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc.?
Well, it also depends on what do you like to do and what does she like to do. Some people would have a lot of fun on their second date paintballing, as other people would be like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So it really depends on on your interest too. Yeah. So it really depends. It depends on what they like and what you like. and you could go from there.
Mm-hmm.
But dinner, I mean, dinner is always good. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's always a really cool thing to check out, like a new restaurant and stuff. But you can't do that every time either.
Got it. Makes sense. So here's a question. At what point, I know that the first
Mm.
hangout, maybe you wouldn't say this, but at what point should you use the word date when you're asking her to hang out with you? Is how significant is using that word, or should you, like at least in terms of you knowing that she's actually
Mm.
seeing you and she's just not hanging out with you as a friend? So should you just drop that word the first or second time you guys hang out, or should you wait till date 5, 6 or something like that to say, hey, would you like to go on a date with me, and actually use that word?
It depends on how you feel. I mean, by that first conversation that you have with her, do you feel like you want to take her out on a date? If yes, then use the word date. If you feel like, well, I don't want to say this is a date yet, let me just try to feel her out, then
Mm-hmm.
don't say it's a date. You know, so it really it depends too on, you know, what the guy is feeling. And yeah, so it depends. On the first date, if you feel like, okay, I want to take this girl out for a date, just tell her it's a date. Don't leave any room for like people to wonder.
Mm-hmm. Fair, makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, because I've noticed from personal experience and from experience of like friends that a lot of times there's a miscommunication because girls, I'm sure guys probably do this too, will go and they'll hang out with you, they'll go on, dates, but this entire time they're seeing this as a friendship. Another person is seeing these as dates. So I feel like it might make sense, to pretty early on. I mean, it depends. Figure out your own opportunity cost, right? Like, how far are you willing to
Yeah.
go on this without asking her straight up, hey, are you actually interested in me, or are we just hanging out every time? Especially, I feel like maybe guys might have a little bit more to lose here because maybe he's paying for her every time, right? So you pay for
Yeah.
times in a row, and then you find out she was just interested as a friend. Maybe you didn't want to do that. So that's why I was
Uh-huh.
asking the questions like, does it make more sense? So I guess like drop that word early on in the hangouts.
Yeah, like I said, it depends on how you know. All right, I want to go out on a date with this girl. Ask her. It, before I've asked guys. I mean, I've done it, and I just think it's better to just be upfront about, you know, what it is that you want.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That makes sense. Cool. So I think we're kind of answered most of the questions. Is there any like mistakes that you see a lot of guys doing commonly? And also actually share from a girl's point of view, actually, that might be interesting too, is I think it seems like guys have the problem of understanding whether a girl is actually interested in him as more than a friend or not. And
Mm-hmm.
she's just interested in as a friend. And girls tend to have this problem where she's not sure if he's interested in her as more than a friend or he just wants to have sex with her. As a girl, how do you figure that out?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are some ways that you can like?
Um, so one thing is I always tell like other women, if a guy says I'm not a relationship kind of guy,
Mhm.
you, I wouldn't I wouldn't be interested in him because I already know what he's looking for, right? He's looking for something more casual, and you know, if I'm not looking for that, then I know when I hear that.
Mhm.
And then I also know, like, if a guy is trying to say like every other guy, that usually means that he is. So those are two things. When I hear that, I kind of just like cut them loose.
Mhm. Gotcha. That makes sense. Cool. So, as a girl,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like guys are leading most of the ways. As a girl, if you're interested in a guy, what do you do to let yourself know or let him know that you're actually interested in him, without like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot, I feel like a lot of girls have this idea in their head that, oh no, guys are supposed to make the first move. I should just kind of go along with it. I'm not supposed to say anything to him. But I think, in my opinion, it makes it really hard as a woman to really meet somebody because like they may also be interested in you, but if you never let them know, then especially if the guy is kind of shy and not going to approach you, then that just leads to just um, interactions and communication that just doesn't happen. So as a girl, how could you also be proactive and let them know that you're interested in somebody?
Honestly, the last guy that I was interested in, I literally sent him a text message and I said, "Hey, I know that you know that I think you're attractive, and if you want to go out on a date, great. If you don't, that's cool too. But I wanted to clear the elephant in the room. I know that you know. So, and he rejected me, but you know what I mean? I did it. I just think it's so much easier to just say what you're about. I think people respect it a lot more, and I think especially for females, putting yourself out there like that, I think a lot of men actually think that's very sexy. You know what I mean? Because you're being honest and you're being upfront, and I think especially in this day and age where I feel like there's so much fluff out there, I think people really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that. And I think from, like a guy's point of view, I can definitely also say that it is very attractive when a woman just basically straight up tells us that she's interested. Like, because I mean, like, me personally, if I like someone, I will definitely make a point to try to introduce myself to her somehow, But I can imagine some guys maybe are shy. They don't want to do that. They don't want to make the situation awkward, or maybe they're in the same like social circle together, or they work together, something like that. And he may casually approach her without mentioning, asking on a date and stuff like that. I do think that in those cases, if a girl is straight up honest and kind of lets him know, that makes a lot more sense. And it's just my opinion also that I think, you will notice this a lot more with maybe more like conservative girls. They, if a guy shows an interest, they sort of like act like, they're not supposed to react to that or something like that. I think that makes it easy for us to really pursue that, because if we're constantly the one texting you first, we're always the one making the scheduling the hangouts, is the one basically reaching out to you every single time, and you're never doing that because you think you're being very, I guess like conservative and girly and stuff like that, because you're playing you might have this idea in your head that that's how girls are supposed to be. I think it makes it really difficult because it makes us feel like you're not interested in us, actually. What would you say? Would you agree with that or no?
Well, I agree with what you're saying. Like in the beginning, we like a guy to take effort, but you also have to show that you're interested. And honestly, if a girl is that conservative where she can't show that, or then maybe you should find another girl who shows you more interest, honestly. You know what I mean? That's the truth. Like, because a guy should be the one to take control, but you also have to let the guy be aware that you're interested. You know what I mean? Because then what happens? Everything just fizzles out, right? So I agree with what you're saying, and I just think if a girl is not giving you that effort, then find another girl to date. And and vice versa. If I'm dating a guy and he's not showing me any effort or anything, then don't even waste your time. Just move on to the next. There's so many people out there. Somebody who's who's okay with putting in that effort, and it's not going to give you crap, you know what I'm saying, or like not put in that work interested.
Right. Cool. Good, great advice. One quick point before we start wrapping things up. I know a lot of, I think that's OkCupid did a study where they looked at what women found attractive in a guy's profile on OkCupid, and some of the things that came up was like a guy's profile picture, he should be looking away from the camera. They found things like the word, if you have some sort of like a verb that's like a sport or activity that you enjoy doing, those profiles were rated higher. And majority of girl profiles listed the most desirable characteristic they're looking for is like a guy that's funny. So speaking of funny, if that is such a big and desirable trait that women are looking for, how do you be more funny? Like, humor is a very different, people have different types of humor. Not every girl is gonna find the same things funny. So what are some universal ways that you can be more funny to a woman?
I don't know. That's kind of a hard question. I don't know. I mean, because here's the thing. I mean, it's true. There isn't many things that like not everybody's gonna find the same thing to be funny, and I guess that all has to do with who you click with and who you don't, right?
Right.
So maybe if there's a girl out there who really doesn't find you that funny, maybe there isn't enough of a connection there. Maybe you should find a girl who does think you're funny. You know?
Uh-huh. That's
That's
a good
the best way I could answer that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Is that should, I guess also, humor also comes from shared memories though, like some of our closest friends are also the people that we have the most inside jokes with. And inside jokes don't happen unless you've shared enough things together, gone through enough experiences together, traveled together, gone through trips together. So maybe you also have to give her a chance or him a chance to kind of build those memories before you expect them to make you laugh every other second. So I do think that's because when you're first meeting someone, you may not be able to necessarily make them laugh because you don't know what they might find funny and stuff like that. And you guys may, build and discover that later on in your relationship.
It's kind of like it's like not every girl likes short guys. Not every girl likes tall guys, right? And it's the same thing with like personalities. Not everybody's gonna find you funny or find you suave or whatever the case may be. And that's just because they're probably just not somebody that you connect with. It's just how it is.
Makes sense. Another tip that I'm gonna give, since we're on topic of talking to women, people. This is also very relevant to business too, actually. We use this sort of anchoring effect, right? Like when it comes to pricing, if you see something really outrageously priced and you see something underneath it, it makes the second priced item seem not as expensive when you compare it to the first thing. So one recommendation that I would have is that if you're going like bar hopping or you're going to a party or something like that, and you're actually going to meet women out there, that you should probably take with you somebody who looks similar to you but slightly less attractive than you. Because when she sees both of you guys together, compared to the other person, if you're slightly attractive, she's gonna think that you're much more attractive than she might see if she just sees you just by yourself, or if you take someone more attractive than yourself with you. Well, would you say there's any truth to that at all?
No, not at all.
You don't think
and
so?
we're in this bar and there's only one girl. Like there's so many girls in a bar wherever you are that shouldn't even matter. You know what I mean? I feel like there's more than enough people out there for everyone. So that there's no truth in that.
Interesting.
Not in my opinion, though.
It's actually something that I don't know if you read the book Predictably Rational by Dan Ariely. He actually brings up this point in his book several times, is that we as humans, we have no way to just put value to things in a standalone situation. Like if I ask you what's the value of something and you have nothing else to compare to, you have no way to assign value to that. So what he says is that if you want to assign value to something, you can really price anything in any way you want, or you can make anything seem as attractive as you want just by putting something less attractive or more attractive next to it. So it makes it's just relative to something else, and you can really interfere or just dictate how people perceive that thing. So he talks about like dating and like meeting women at a bar situation. That was his recommendation, is that you should take someone less attractive but similar looking to you with you. But I can definitely.
I think there's a word for that, but I'm not gonna say it. What that is. That's like such a D-bag thing to do. Like that's horrible. That's horrible.
So you're the less attractive friend and you got invited, so you know what that means. Fair enough.
Could you imagine? How would you feel if I told you, like, hey, I'm going out to a bar, but I want to be like the best looking chick in the bar, so I'm gonna bring like 2 girls with me, or I'm gonna bring another girl, and I'm gonna make sure she's uglier than me. What would you think if I said that to you? Wouldn't you be like, wow, that's
You wouldn't tell me that. These are psychological things that it's just like a halo effect almost, you know? Like we tend to, I mean, think about it. If I see 3 girls and I know clearly one of them is much more attractive than the other 2, I mean, I'm basing her attractiveness based on those 2 that I'm seeing next to her. I do think that does happen. Like we do make that kind of comparison versus if I just saw her by herself. Because I would see the other ones like, oh wow, look, this girl is clearly, you know, overweight compared to her. She looks so much better. Personally, I believe there's some truth to that.
Well, here's the thing: if I saw 2 guys, right? If I'm at a bar and I see 2 guys, if I think they're both not that attractive, I'm not gonna be like, well, that one's more attractive than the other. I'd just be like, no, they're both not attractive. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're both very good looking, then I might be like, oh, well, he's a bit cuter. Yeah, okay. So that I could agree with. But the thing is, it's like if I see them, I'm like, they're both not attractive, then they're both not attractive. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I'm not going to compare both.
Right.
Fair enough. I'd probably do it if they were hot.
Right. That's why I was saying you should take someone that, well, I mean, this is assuming like a girl is interested in you and maybe the friend too, but you just happen to be slightly more, you know, attractive than the friend. Then it makes you seem more attractive to her than you would appear if she just saw you by yourself. You're just kind of giving her like this decoy to like, I guess, judge you. I don't know, but it's an interesting topic. I think it's interesting.
I think I should read up on it. Yeah. What are you drinking there? What is that? Like a protein shake?
It's coffee.
Coffee? Wait, what state are you in?
Tennessee.
Tennessee?
And it's 1 a.m. It's pretty late here.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. here. It's like it's really late for coffee, dude. You're not gonna be able to sleep, huh?
Well, my schedule has been kind of like on and off. Like I work, you know, with a lot of people outside of the country, so it really doesn't matter, I guess, technically. I mean, unless obviously I should be awake in time to do stuff with my friends here in the States, but for work schedule.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. Sometimes people don't get it. Like when you're like an entrepreneur, like you could sleep like all day on a Monday because for the past like 10, 12 days you were working nonstop and like, oh, look, looks don't matter as much as you think. For women, okay. Looks only matter for the first 30 seconds. Should that once you reveal your social better, should be interested or not, be determined. Well, yes and no. I mean, I've definitely met some guys where I would find them more attractive, you know, possibly in the future when I got to know them. But there were also guys I thought had great personalities, and I was just never attracted to them. So, I mean, it can happen, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, but it definitely.
One thing that will make.
Go ahead.
Huh? No, go ahead. I keep. I'm sorry.
It is the most important factors in terms of like it's what makes her talk to you to begin with. If she straight up has no attraction whatsoever, you will never get a chance for her to even get to know you. The personality always comes second. Look has to come first because, I mean, the reality is that we see someone before we, for the most part, you know, we see somebody, then we talk to them.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, but there are also, you know, I've met a lot of women who get married and they're like, you know, in the beginning, I wasn't even attracted to him. So it does happen. I think it's less likely that it will happen for a man than it would for a woman. You know what I mean? You know, but I think for men are very visual. So if he's not attracted to her in the beginning, 99% chance he'll never be attracted to her.
Yeah, I agree with that. Unless I think there is also I do think there's kind of like a threshold. This is just my opinion. Women will be, you know, just not attractive enough for me to consider her. Let's just say. But if I got to know her, this has happened in the past. I got to know her and I got to
Mm-hmm.
see the personality, we can somehow overlook that a little bit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if they're like just borderline. But if they're significantly below our threshold, I don't think it, I agree with you that I think guys in general don't tend to do that. But I do think that women, on the other hand, um, given the opportunity, you know, she gets the chance to get to know you more. I do think they're more flexible in that. I can definitely see there's
They
truth.
definitely, they definitely are. But yeah, men are very visual. I mean, that's the first thing that they're going to look at, something that's pleasing to the eye. I mean, most of us are like that, but yeah, women could definitely bend a lot more than men.
Yep. Also, this is something that I also read up on is that like the first impression really matters a lot because no matter what you do after that, they're always going to base it off of that first impression that they had of you. So my recommendation is that put your best foot forward. And this is kind of
Mm-hmm.
counterintuitive and it is double-edged, I think. A lot of people say
Mm-hmm.
be yourself, right? Because later on you don't want her to find out the real you and be disappointed and all this kind of stuff. But actually, my recommendation is slightly against that in the sense that I would say that show the absolute best version of yourself. Even though you may not be able to keep that up later on, it is important to get at least get her attracted to you initially. And then as like, you know, things progress, maybe you don't do that every single time. But if you don't do that the first time though, it's going to be real hard to change that first impression later on. Even if you do things amazing later on, it's never going to feel like, you know, she's always going to keep the first impression of you as like kind of like the standard, as your baseline
Mm-hmm.
structure, everything like that. Would you agree with that?
I would, and that's why it's so important when you first meet a woman to come off strong and confident, because if that's what she's always going to hold the standard to, you definitely want to make the right impression, right? So that's why you have to be strong, you have to be confident, and you just have to like go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Girls find that very sexy, very very
Yeah,
sexy.
yeah, I can definitely see that. A couple more points. I'm sorry, I'm keeping you for. I was meant to wrap this up a while back.
Don't
Couple
worry about
points I
it.
was going to bring up. Dan Ariely in that book also taught, I don't know if it's in a book or maybe he was doing a study or like a talk he gave at Google, I think, where he was
Mm-hmm.
asked, like, what do women want? You know, he was asked that question, which is, I know it's a very tricky question for anybody to answer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but he said that it depends on the time of the month. That some times of the month, women prefer men that are rather more masculine, and sometimes they
Mm-hmm.
prefer women or men that are, you know, not so masculine, more like sort of like metrosexual type. What do you think that that actually happens? And this may not be a conscious process. You know, you may not know that you're doing this, but would you think that that is in play?
Um, No, I actually think the way it works is depending on the time of the month, men are actually more attracted to certain women because it's all about, like pheromones. And I don't think women would think, depending on the time of the month, women would think a metrosexual is sexier or a guy who's more rugged will be sexier. I think it's actually the other way around.
Mhm.
I really do. Because I think also with women, depending on, the time of the month and stuff, they also tend to fill out a bit more. They tend to have a bit more of a glow. So it's actually the men that I think notice that stuff more than the women. I mean, I could be wrong. It could be happening on a subconscious level, but I've never noticed it.
Mhm.
And I've liked a lot of men in my life, so I think I would have noticed it by now.
Yeah,
You know?
fair enough. Last question. This is for real, the last question. How much does
Mm.
height matter for men? What I've read, what I know so far, and you can correct me after this if is that women don't really care that much for height, but they do really care if the guy is actually shorter than them. But as long as they're taller, it doesn't matter as much to them. How much truth do you think there is to that, or is it more significant than that?
I agree with that. If a guy is, I'm 5'5", so if the guy is shorter than me, I don't like that as much as like, but I don't care if a guy is like 5'7". Most of the guys I date, I feel like are between 5'7" and 5'10". You know what I mean? So they're usually on like the shorter side, 5'7", 5'8" or so. But some women actually do really care about that. And that's a big thing that I've been hearing a lot about lately from my guy friends that are a bit shorter. They're like, once a girl sees my height on a dating app, she like doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Like, they're like, they're like, oh, all these girls want guys that are like 6 feet and up. And I'm like, I never saw that as a big deal. You know what I mean? So that's not something, I guess it is a thing. But for me, I never cared, but I wouldn't want him to be shorter than me, you know? Yeah.
That makes sense.
So
it doesn't hold true for the other. By the way, like guys don't care how tall girls are for the most part, even if she's taller. At least I don't think the average guy cares much that she's tall.
Yeah, because some of the guys that I've dated that were like, a bit shorter, like 5'7", 5'6" or so, when I would wear heels, they'd be like, "You're taller than me," and it's like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm gonna wear heels. So some of them actually didn't like it, like if I would wear heels and I was taller than them, and some didn't care, and some loved it. So.
Yeah, interesting fact also in that same study that I read that ran by OkCupid, on average, men lie about their height by 1.5 inches. So if whatever they're saying, they're usually 1.5 inches shorter than they actually say they are on dating profiles. Just FYI. But
do you do that?
I list my height as actually you could say that because we tend to list our height as like what's the absolute tallest we've ever been with the tallest shoes on and big hair and everything, right? So I put 5'10" on mine, but in real life I think I'm closer to 5'9" probably. But yeah, probably I would say I do that too. with my boots on, I'm probably 5'10". But but anyway,
I'm 7'5".
yeah, he's not 7'5". It's one of my friends. I know him. He's not 7'5".
I figured he wasn't.
But anyway, Nicole, I don't wanna take up any more of your time. Thank you so much for joining us. I think it was very insightful. I hope that as a result of this, I can be better at talking to women, as someone pointed out earlier. In that thread.
You could always send me a message, and if you need any advice.
Cool. We'll definitely stay in touch. Thanks so much again for joining us. Those of you guys that are watching, keep watching. I do have a YouTube channel where I started talking a little bit more about this topic, and I do think that not just in the context of dating, but just relationships in general with other people matter a lot as we're becoming more and more of a digital sort of society where we're relying much more on technology. People are starting to lose some of the people skills, like how to connect with people, how to engage with them, how to have deep, meaningful relationships and conversations with people. So I think it's important that even as entrepreneurs, we keep that in mind and that be a very relevant topic of conversation to us, even outside of dating and things.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Anyway, Nicole, thanks so much for joining us, and you have a blessed morning.
You too. Bye.
Bye.